What is happening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Today, I'm going to sound off on my guy. I love him, but he deserves a little bit of criticism. Draymond Green. I'm sounding off on Draymond because Draymond sounded off on something that I disagree with, but we will get into that. We will stay within the NBA and talk about the NBA standings. What is going on with all these teams that we thought were going to be good teams, more specifically in the Eastern Conference? We're going to take a look at the NBA standings and see exactly what is going on and how some teams are surprising us. And if the season ended today, would be in the playoffs, and some that would be more surprising would be left out. And then we're going to dive in a little bit into the NFL. There's some news. J.J. Watt is a free agent. He is free to sign wherever he wants. He got released by the Texans, so we will look at where he could possibly end up. And we will just take a look around the league. I feel like it's too quiet. I've been saying this for the past week or two. So we will take a look at what potentially could happen in the coming days within the NFL. Obviously, now we have some players like J.J. Watt in the league that could change some of the landscape around the league, especially if they go to, let's say, a contender, maybe like Green Bay. So we'll take a look at all that. But first, I'm going to start with the Draymond Green story. So I'm going to lay this out for you. Today, I'm filming this on Tuesday. And last night, the Warriors played the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers have Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is in the last year of his contract. He's on a big, fat contract. So he's a perfect candidate to trade to get something back for rather than just losing him and letting him walk for nothing. Plus, with the salaries needing to match, you might get a quality player in return if a team really needs Andre Drummond. So if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you just got Jared Allen in the trade for the James Harden trade. So might be a good time to trade Andre Drummond. So the Cavaliers from Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers, decided to bench Andre Drummond last night and probably for the coming days to avoid any injury or anything that could potentially sacrifice a trade that could get them some future assets. So Andre Drummond, being a professional, is sitting out until further notice because it's the team's desire to have him sit out. Now, they play the Warriors, so Draymond Green sees this happening, and then Draymond Green sounded off. And here's what he said. And don't mind the guy that shows up in the beginning for a little bit. That's just how Zoom works, and that was the reporter on the Zoom call. So this is what Draymond Green had to say.
I would like to talk about something that's really bothering me, and it's the treatment of players in this league. To watch Andre Drummond before the game sit on the sideline, then go to the back, and then come out in street clothes because a team is going to trade him. Because when James Harden asked for a trade and essentially dogged it, I don't think there was no surprise or there's – no one's going to fight back that James was dogging it his last days in Houston. But he was castrated for wanting to go to a different team, and everybody destroyed that man. And yet a team can come out and say, oh, we want to trade a guy, and then that guy is to go sit. And if he doesn't stay professional, then he's a cancer, and he's not good in someone's locker room, and he's the issue. And we've seen situations of Harrison Barnes getting pulled off the bench. DeMarcus Cousins finding out that he's traded in an interview after the All-Star game. And we continue to let this happen. But I got fined for stating my opinion of what I thought should happen with another player. But teams can come out and continue to say, oh, we're trading guys, we're not playing you. And yet we're to stay professional. At some point, as players, we need to be treated with the same respect and have the same rights that the team can have. Because as a player, you're the worst person in the world when you want a different situation. But a team can say they're trading you, and that man is to stay in shape. He is to stay professional. And if not, his career is on the line. At some point, this league has to protect the players from embarrassment like that. We talk all of this stuff about you can't do this. You can't say that publicly. If you say that publicly, you're fine. Anthony Davis got fined, I think, $100,000 or something like that for demanding a trade publicly. But you can say Andre Drummond is getting traded publicly, and we're looking to trade him publicly, and he's to stay professional and just deal with it. But then when Kyrie Irving say, oh, my mental health is off, Everybody go crazy about that too. Do you not think that affects someone mentally? As much as we put into this game to be great, to come out here and be in shape, to produce for fans every single night, and most importantly, to help your team win, do you think that doesn't affect someone mentally? But as players, we're told to, no, you can't say that, you can't say this, but teams can. It goes along the same lines of when everyone wants to say, oh man, that young guy can't figure it out. But no one wants to say the organization can't figure it out. At some point, the players must be respected in these situations, and it's ridiculous, and I'm sick of seeing it. Y'all have a great night. I'll see y'all tomorrow or Wednesday.
All right. So as you heard there, Draymond is sounding off on the double standard that is going on within the NBA between the players and the organizations. This has been something that has irked me for the longest of time because in reality, whether we like to admit it or not, the players need the organization more than the organization needs the players. Like in life, everything works this way. There's a hierarchy. Like there's bosses, there's managers, there's players. There's that in every job in this world. My job, your job most likely. So unless you're Elon Musk, most likely you're working for somebody. And this is just this culture of player empowerment that I get because to a certain extent, I mean, if someone's unhappy, it sucks that they have to live an unhappy life, but they don't have to. You could quit. You could retire. You could just not play anymore if you don't want to be in a certain place where you've signed your commitment. And also, let me just say, Draymond, I love Draymond Green. I've been a huge Draymond Green fan. I still am. Me and him will go way back, as you can see. I'm just playing. I've met the guy a couple of times, and he's an awesome guy. I love the guy. I love the player that he is. A lot of people don't like him because they think he's dirty, but I think every championship team needs a guy like Draymond Green on your squad. This dude is a dog, and I love the way Draymond Green plays, and I think he is super underrated, not in the salary because he gets paid pretty decently, but he's underrated as far as how people talk about him. I think he's crucial to a championship team, and he's a great, great player in my opinion. Basketball IQ through the roof. But this is not about basketball and what's going on between the lines of playing the game. You know, he's criticizing the team because they want Andre Drummond and expect him to be a professional and not play. But let me just say that I'm sure Draymond, let's say, probably has maybe a chef or maybe a personal trainer that Draymond has hired to work for Draymond Green. Now, in that relationship, who's allowed to be maybe late? Let's say the unprofessional one. It's Draymond Green. If Draymond Green hires the chef to cook for him or the personal trainer to train him 5 days a week and says to the trainer like, hey, I don't feel like coming in today. Don't bother. You're still going to get paid. Forget it. Draymond Green, is he being unprofessional? But at this point, he hired the guy. So Draymond, you could do that. When you hired your chef, and you're like, hey, I'm going to actually go out on a date tonight. I'm going to a restaurant. Don't bother. Don't do your job that I hired you for. I'm still going to pay you for your services, but I need you to just not cook. And I know you drove all the way to the kitchen already and you're waiting there and you got things prepared. Don't bother. Throw that stuff away and don't make the meal. I'm going out to a restaurant. Is that okay? Absolutely that's okay. Because Draymond hired this person for their services and said, hey, I don't need it. Now, they're not making them put in extra effort. They're not coming through with their obligation to pay the person. The Cleveland Cavaliers are still paying Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond still has insurance through the team. He's still well taken care of by the organization. They're literally just saying, hey, we hired you to play basketball. Today, we need you to not play basketball, which means pretty much you're not going to get injured. And just watch the game of basketball, which if the coach decided to bench him for the whole game in uniform, that's also okay because that's the coach's decision. That's his job. So, I don't know. I've just gotten so frustrated with these guys going above and beyond where that's not how it works. And then he's even bringing up the Harden trade. Yes, if you don't want to be traded. Sorry, but when you sign that contract and you commit to 5 years of a contract with a team or 3 years of a contract with a team, correct, that team can trade you basically except for the first 6 months. I don't know how the Players Association has the agreement. But once that few months in the beginning is up, they can trade you whenever they want. So Draymond Green, you signed a 5-year deal, a max contract. After that first year, the Warriors can trade you. And if you want the power to not be traded, you could probably do that too. Because I'm sure if Draymond signed for $10 million a year for a 5-year deal with a no trade clause, the Warriors probably would have signed that deal and said, okay, we'll have you here and you are promised that we will not trade you for the next 5 years. And there you go. And that's the leverage that you have. But you cannot forget that you are an employee. And it's happening a lot. And it's happening more and more and more. And I just think this ends up, at the end of the day, you're going to hurt yourself. At the end of the day, if Kyrie doesn't want to come to work, that's fine, dude. And you're not going to get paid then. And after you don't get paid, the next team is not going to sign you for someone that's unreliable and doesn't want to come to work. And like I gave with that analogy with Draymond and his trainer or Draymond with his chef, if Draymond shows up to that workout and that trainer isn't there, or that trainer makes the call and says, hey, I'm going out on a date tonight, so I know you hired me to come cook for you, but I'm not going to come today. Guess who's getting fired? The chef. Like, plain and simple. So, again, that is just me going off on something that sometimes I feel like these guys get carried away. And in a way, it's not their fault because they're getting all these perks. And like I've said before, when a guy is getting a 3-year contract with a 4th-year option, don't forget that the 4th-year option is a gift from the team, which you may have earned. And if you earned it, great. That's negotiating. If you earned it, good shit. Good for you. You deserve that. But now a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option, it's starting to become a 2-year deal because these guys just sit out. They're like, all right, well, I'm not going to play. And you know what happens? I mean, fair. Then don't come. Then you're not going to get paid. And don't complain about that either. And a lot of the organizations obviously are, kind of daring their guys to do that. And at some point, when you have the leverage, like James Harden, you do get traded. But, that just doesn't work for everybody. And it's not going to work for everybody because at the end of the day, like I said, there is just a pecking order. And like it or not, like I said, the players need the organizations. Without an NBA, these guys technically don't have this job. They may play basketball somewhere, maybe in China, maybe in Slovenia, maybe in Greece. That's fine. But your salary is not as good over there. You're probably not getting treated as great over there. So at some point, just remember, like, this is your job. This is their job. And, a lot of the times the players want people to realize, like, hey, this is our job, and this is what we have to do. And they want that side of it to be understood. But then when it comes to this, they can't handle that. So, like I said, Andre Drummond, props to you for being a professional. That's what you should do. That's why you're still going to have a job. Keep doing that. You're being a professional. That's what you should do. And the team, they're being professional too. They're not docking your pay. They're not telling you that now you have to play 5-on-1. And even if they did, that's the coach's decision. I'm just saying the team's also being professional. Now, whether you like the professionalism that they're running or not, that's on you. But if you're a hotel manager and your boss comes down and says, hey, we're changing that room. That's not going to be a lounge anymore or a snack room. We're going to turn this into something else. You don't have a say. And you still have to manage it. And that's your job. And if you don't like, you can quit. So that's the reality. That's my little rant on Draymond Green. But now let's just take a look at where the NBA standings stand as of right now. All right, well, we'll start with the Western Conference. And really, to me, the biggest surprise in the Western Conference has to be the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have been on fire. They've won 8 games in a row. They're 23-5. They only have 5 losses this season. That's insane. They're 13-2 at home and 10-3 on the road. This team has been balling. They've been playing lights out, and they've been winning games in all kind of ways. When they need defense, they play defense. When they need to go on a huge offensive explosion, they do that too. They've been shooting the 3-ball great. Donovan Mitchell is playing out of his mind. Remember when he and Rudy Gobert were not going to coexist after the whole COVID thing? Well, guess what? They're figuring it out. and they're number 1 in the West, and they're looking great. Obviously, right behind them, we got the Lakers, and then the Clippers, and those two are kind of where we thought they were. I didn't think the Lakers would have as great of a regular season, obviously, after coming off that championship season. They're going to pace themselves. LeBron's a little older, but this dude, I don't even know if he's pacing himself. This guy's the MVP of the season. It's between him and Embiid. LeBron's playing lights out. The Lakers are right where they want to be. This team is just prepping for the playoffs and trying to go on a hunt there. I will say the other team that I would say is the biggest surprise in the West, and not for good reason, is the Dallas Mavericks. So Dallas, Luka, my guy. I love Luka Doncic. But the Mavericks have been struggling this year. They're 13-15. This team is on the outside looking in. They're 10th right now in the West. If the season ended today, they'd be having to play in the play-in tournament, and then most likely just to get ready to play either the Lakers or the Utah Jazz. Both teams, I think, would probably sweep them or win in 5 games at this point. I'm just not sure, and I think this has to be a team that makes a move right before the trade deadline. Like I said, so Sonia, my girlfriend, doesn't get mad at me. I love Luka Doncic. I love Luka Doncic. But the Mavs have got to figure it out. I don't know, Rick Carlisle has been trying ways to motivate his squad, but it's just not happening for them right now. So they're one of those surprise teams that are at the bottom looking up. We have the Nuggets in that group as well. They're the 7th seed. A lot of people thought they'd be great again, but there's something. This is one of those teams that's kind of had when you have continuity for several years with some success, it could go obviously both ways. It's either that could get old and you're just going to be tired of doing the same thing over and over again, and you're going to lose that motivation, which I feel like is like the Denver Nuggets. Or you're going to get motivated being like, we know each other, we're playing well, the chemistry grows, it gets even better. And that's how I feel the Utah Jazz are doing right now. So, and the Jazz have been without Mike Conley. So, for probably the last 5 or 6 games. So, again, other than that, the Suns are the 4th seed. They've been playing great ball also. They've won 6 games in a row. They're the 4th seed right now, and we'll see. Hopefully there is some sort of home court advantage come playoff time, but if there isn't, that's something that I think could hurt a team like Phoenix, because if they had home court, Phoenix playing Portland at the 4-5 matchup, I think Phoenix with the home crowd would have an advantage, but since there is no real home crowd, I mean, Chris Paul, he's that veteran presence that will come through when it's playoff time, but the other guys are a little bit younger. When you got this Portland team that has Dame, CJ, they've been through it all. They've been to, the Western Conference Finals before. They just came off a playoff run that in the bubble was pretty impressive to get into the playoffs. Obviously, they lost to the Lakers, but still. That's the Western Conference. And now let's take a look at how the East is shaping up. So as we looked at the Eastern Conference, the team I thought was going to be the best team in the East right now is the best team in the East. The Philadelphia 76ers are 18-10. Joel Embiid is doing his thing. This dude's having an MVP type of year. I think the Sixers are finally having their players used like they should be used. I don't think Doc Rivers is an incredible head coach, but I don't think he's Brett Brown. And Brett Brown was the problem in Philly, in my opinion. There were so many things that I think he was doing that could have been done better, the way he was managing when Embiid was playing, when Simmons was playing, and sometimes he would want them playing differently. But if you really look at the numbers, when they're on the floor together, they're actually pretty damn good. Finally, Doc Rivers is figuring this out. They got players that aren't playing great or as well as they should be playing if you look at their contracts, like Danny Green. But there's still ways that Doc Rivers is utilizing these guys and having them play. And they're just having a great season so far. The second seed is the Milwaukee Bucks, which, like I said before, this is a team that has continuity. They've been together, been through it deep in the playoffs for a few seasons now. So at this point, I think they're that team that's trying to use this momentum to use that chemistry and keep building upon it. But I feel like if they don't start establishing themselves as a clear top seed in the Eastern Conference, that continuity could get old. And a guy like Giannis, even though he's just signed a Supermax, could start losing some of that motivation, just feeling like, hey, we're doing the same thing again, man. Like Chris Middleton, I know he's my guy, but at this point, like, we just keep running into a better team every time, and nothing is changing within the organization. Obviously, Brooklyn is at the 3, Boston's at the 4. Brooklyn, like I said last time, I think this team's kind of struggling just because on their potential, but if you really look at it, they're 17-12. They're going to be fine, but They have no defense. They don't try to play defense. So we'll see if they get to change that and get to improve on that and actually make a run. I do think that come playoff time, if these guys actually get some chemistry and build up by then and Steve Nash pushes the right buttons, this team could come out of the East very, very easily. And I definitely could see that happen. And now we have the surprise teams. Teams like Miami. Teams like Toronto. What are you guys doing? Like, you guys were supposed to be still contending, still being a top seed. And Toronto is the 8th seed right now. They would be in a play-in tournament, and so is Miami. And guess who these two teams would be in a play-in tournament? With Charlotte and Chicago. Who thought that they would be in a play-in tournament with these teams? So, like I said, right now, obviously, this is still pretty early on. A lot could change. Look for a team like Toronto to make a move. They are not strong at the center position right now, so they could use some help there. Kyle Lowry, a pending free agent. He's on a $30 million deal, max deal. So it's last year of that contract. Maybe they trade Lowry. We'll see what happens with them and the Heat. I mean, they've had injuries and COVID stuff, but so have a lot of teams. And the Heat just sums up over there. And maybe they just thought that, Giannis impending free agency was going to be what they would do and that they were loading up for that. But right now, the loss of guys like Jay Crowder looking like it's really hurting this team. The Hawks and the Magic are down there, and the Wizards, Cavs, Detroit, no surprises there. But I will say the Knicks right here, the New York Knicks are a pleasant surprise. This team is 14 or 15. They got Derrick Rose in that trade. They've been playing some good ball lately. They've won 3 in a row. And this squad right now, I don't see them not making the playoffs. And this is where it's kind of surprising to see teams like Miami and like Toronto behind them in the standings. So as long as the Knicks can kind of keep doing what they're doing and the way they've been playing lately, the way Tom Thibodeau's been coaching them up, I think this team could make a run. I think they could make a run to possibly, be the 5th seed in the East. They've been playing better. Julius Randle's having a great year. And Tom Thibodeau has them playing defense. These guys are playing defense. So between them and the Pacers, I guess we thought they'd be right there. And then the Celtics are 500. To be honest, I didn't think the Celtics were going to be all that great this year. I think just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are awesome guys to have, don't get me wrong. But they need more to that lineup. Marcus Smart being out hasn't helped. And so, the East is just all over the place. Really, the only team I could say is where I thought they would be is probably Philly. Like I said, I thought they'd be the 1 seed, and they're right where I thought they would be, obviously aside from the bad teams that we thought would be bad. But even a team like the Wizards with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, I didn't think they'd be this bad. That team's 8-17. So a lot of stuff happening, but then they just beat the Celtics. So you just never know right now with the way the league is going. Obviously, COVID plays a role, but aside from that, it's also just the way the game is going. At this point, the points are through the roof. Guys not playing. And so it's just a lot going on in the NBA league. In the NBA, it's hard to kind of get a read on how it's going. But I think, especially after we get into this little all-star game weekend that they're going to have, I think the good teams, the teams that are contenders, are going to ramp it up. And I think teams like Brooklyn are going to start playing better. Boston will start playing better. And we'll really see things start shaping up. But the play-in tournament is going to be interesting. Because if you have teams like Toronto and Miami in that play-in tournament in the East and in the West, if you have like the Mavericks and the Nuggets, playing against like the Grizzlies, who were close last year, you never know. So these play-in tournaments could be a lot of fun. So I'm very intrigued by that. All right, well, that's going to do it talking NBA. Going to talk a little bit of football. Football is pretty much just let's talk about J.J. Watt. So this guy's a free agent. The team finally, they released him. They agreed to part ways. He's the hottest free agent right now being talked about. But I will say this. The dude's 32 years old. The dude is also injured a lot of the time. The best asset, though, that he might be bringing to that team is leadership. Everyone respects J.J. Watt. Everybody knows the numbers that he's put up. And I think that could be crucial to a team. And the two teams that are mainly being talked about potential landing spots for J.J. Watt are the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let me start with Green Bay. Green Bay, to me, makes the most sense for the organization. If the Packers get J.J. Watt, I don't think he's going to be a huge defensive playmaker that's going to change everything for them. I think he's going to change everything, though, in the sense that he's going to bring a leadership. He's going to bring another guy on the opposite side of the ball to Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be able to get that unit together, who's going to be able to lead, who's going to be able to show these younger defensive players how it's done. And a guy like J.J. Watt with a guy like Aaron Rodgers is great to have for your football team on opposite sides. I'd even say J.J. Watt's a better leader than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, half the time, is trying to flirt with the idea of leaving. J.J. Watt, I think, would make a huge difference for the Packers. I'm very scared of that. Please go somewhere else, J.J. Watt. And like I said, the other team, it's Pittsburgh. His brother plays there. And a team like Pittsburgh could use another guy like that. They have some young guys there. But the young guys there that are immature and need that leadership and that voice are on the opposite side of the field. It's the offense. It's the Juju Smith-Schusters that need to stop dancing on the opposing team's logo. So I think J.J. Watt could help, but I don't know if he'll make that big of a difference there. And then earlier today, it was funny as DeAndre Hopkins posted about a possible reunion with J.J. Watt in Arizona. Now, if he goes to Arizona, I think that'd be pretty cool too. I just don't think that Arizona has it. I don't think Kyler Murray is really that amazing offensively. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think is an awesome head coach. So that is where I think it makes the least sense for J.J. Watt, somebody that's chasing a championship, somebody that's trying to get there. So right now, if I was to bet money on this, I think Green Bay makes the most sense. For them, it makes the most sense to be the team that gets J.J. Watt. And also for J.J. Watt, I think it makes the most sense to go to Green Bay because Green Bay has been sniffing that Super Bowl for the past couple years. And obviously, as long as Aaron Rodgers stays, which more than likely, of course, he's going to stay, that could be the difference maker. That leadership, that presence. I feel like even if the guy's injured, just having him in that locker room could be the biggest difference maker for any team in this league. Getting a guy like J.J. Watt. So that's something to keep our eye on. Obviously, all these quarterbacks like Russell Wilson potentially getting traded, I don't see that happening whatsoever. The Deshaun Watson thing, it's kind of died down a little bit. Maybe come draft night, that's when this trade happens, if it happens. The Carson Wentz thing was supposed to happen already. That's kind of not really happening. I think it's like when the NBA free agency begins and they're waiting on that one big domino, and it's usually LeBron. And once LeBron signs, things start falling into place. So this might be what's happening here with the Deshaun Watson deal. But once one of those quarterbacks gets traded, gets moved, then I think things start falling. I thought it was going to be the Stafford deal, but after that, it's still been quiet. So I feel like that to happen relatively soon, as obviously teams prepare for the draft and prepare their scouting for what positions of need they may have and where they may go with that. So other than that, I'll be back later this week. I'll see what happens tonight in the NBA, tomorrow in the NBA, catch the games, see if Brooklyn gets that win against Phoenix, which is tonight. That should be exciting. Again, I'm posting this most likely on Wednesday, which is the day after I'm filming this. But hopefully Kyrie doesn't explode for 50 points tonight. It makes me look like a complete fool, and they hold the team to like 80 points. So we'll see what happens. But guys, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Remember to leave comments. Let me know what you thought about the Draymond argument, because I feel like there's a lot of people probably disagree with me. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So until then, I will talk to you guys on the next episode of Unsportsmanlike Conduct.